The power of subtlety. Imagine being able to stay on a man's mind without sending 100 messages, without playing games, without needing to be flawless. Just 3 simple words spoken with quiet confidence and emotional intent can leave a mark so deep it echoes long after the conversation ends. And no, this isn't a trick, it's not a hack, and it's definitely not about manipulation. What you're about to discover is how attraction really works, not on the surface, not through perfectly polished appearances, but at the level that truly matters, the unconscious. According to renowned psychologist Carl Jung, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. We like to believe that attraction is logical, that it's based on looks, words, or timing, but in truth, the most powerful connections we form aren't rational, they're emotional, they're symbolic, they're felt before they're understood. Attraction doesn't live in what's said. It lives in what's felt behind what's said. It lives in the pause between words, in the image a sentence paints, in the subtle energy of confidence, suggestion, and presence. This is where the phrase "you and me" comes in, not as a line, but as a mirror, a symbolic spark small on the surface, but massive in impact, because when you understand how to speak not just to a man's ears, but to his unconscious mind, everything changes. He doesn't just hear you, he feels you. He doesn't just remember your name, he replays your energy. So if you've ever wondered why some women leave a lingering effect without even trying, while others say all the right things and are still forgotten, it comes down to this. They know how to activate emotional memory. They know how to plant a subtle, undeniable seed of connection. That's the power of emotional language. That's the power of symbolic attraction. That's the power of the phrase "you and me." And in this video, you'll not only learn why it works, you'll learn how to use it naturally, confidently, and with clarity, because in a world full of noise, subtlety is the loudest signal, and if you want to be unforgettable, you don't need to shout. You just need to resonate deeply and emotionally. Let's begin. Why most conversations fail. Most women begin conversations with the same soft script they've been told is polite. Hey, how are you? How's your day going? It's gentle, it's nice, it's safe, but it's also forgettable. Because polite doesn't spark anything, it doesn't create friction, tension, energy, or even interest. So what does he do? He responds out of courtesy, out of habit, not out of curiosity, and then it's gone, like a small wave that never made it to shore, not because you did something wrong, but because you didn't give him anything real to remember. Here's the truth most people overlook. The human mind doesn't record words, it records feelings. It doesn't store syllables, it stores the spark behind them, the emotional weight carried between the lines. Think back to the conversations you still remember. That stranger who made you laugh in line at the grocery store, the compliment that caught you off guard, the moment someone said just one thing that felt like a secret only you understood. Chances are you don't remember the exact words, but you remember how they made you feel. That's the moment that stuck. Carl Jung knew this well. He taught that it's not logic that leaves a lasting impact, it's symbolic resonance. What we call chemistry is often just emotional meaning shared in silence, in symbols, in suggestion. So when your words don't stir a visual, when they don't paint a story, when they don't awaken a sensation or strike a nerve, they pass through him like static noise, familiar, predictable, gone. The difference between a woman who's remembered and a woman who's overlooked isn't beauty, isn't perfection, it's emotional impact. That's why most conversations fail, not because you weren't interesting, but because the language of feeling was never spoken. You didn't touch the unconscious, you didn't speak symbolically, you didn't spark, but don't worry, that's about to change, because in the next part, we'll explore how just 3 simple words when spoken with presence and emotional charge, can flip the entire equation and plant a seed so deep it lingers long after you've walked away. The secret of emotional memory. Carl Jung said something most people still don't understand. Emotion is the chief source of all becoming of consciousness. There can be no transformation of darkness into light without emotion. Emotion is the gateway, not facts, not logic, not the perfect choice of words. Think about it. Can you recall the first 5 conversations you had this month? Unlikely. But you can remember the one that made your stomach twist, the one that made you laugh when you weren't expecting to, the one that felt like lightning in slow motion even if it only lasted for 10 seconds. That's because the mind doesn't archive data. It doesn't file away small talk or politeness. It stores imprints. It saves what moved us, not what informed us. That's the secret of emotional memory, and this is where most conversations and most connections quietly fail. We ask, "How's your day? Did you sleep well? What do you do for work?" Harmless, yes, but emotionless. There's no friction, no color, no scent, no story. It's like describing a fire with the word warm. You're technically correct, but it doesn't make anyone feel the heat. The truth is, you don't need to be extraordinary to be unforgettable. You don't need to tell wild stories. You don't need to look flawless. You don't need to be more. You just need one thing: to activate something real, to strike an emotional chord, to say the right thing in the right way at the right time. Because when you do that, even once you embed yourself into the emotional memory, you become the flashy replays in quiet moments, the woman who said something small but made him feel something big. And here's what Jung would say if he were speaking to you now: if you want to be remembered, you must dare to awaken. So forget about trying to impress. Instead, learn to express, not to the conscious mind, but to the emotional one, the one that records how you made him feel long after he forgets what you said. Next, we'll uncover the 3 words that do exactly that, the $1,000 phrase that costs nothing, but creates an unforgettable imprint when spoken with authenticity. The phrase that changes everything. So what are the 3 words? You and me. That's it? Yes and no, because while the words are simple, what they do to the unconscious mind is anything but. You and me is not a line, it's a mirror, a frame, a seed. It doesn't ask for permission, it doesn't seek approval, it gently paints a picture, one that lingers. Even if the person you're speaking to can't explain why. Let's break this down through Jung's lens. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious speaks through symbols, not sentences, through images, not logic, through meaning, not measurement. So when you say something like, "You and me, we'd be dangerous together," you're not stating a fact, you're inviting him into a scene. You're sketching an image of the two of you as if the connection already exists, and here's what makes it so powerful: it bypasses the rational mind. No one stops to analyze the sentence. It slips right past the intellect and lands in the imagination and the unconscious. That mysterious, emotional part of the mind that drives attraction, memory, longing, and obsession responds to it instinctively. Why? Because you and me is a phrase rooted in togetherness. It creates a container, a private space, 2 people, not separated by logic or hesitation, but joined by a suggestion, a quiet but undeniable what if. Think about the alternatives. Do you want to hang out sometime? Maybe we should do something. These are requests, timid, tentative, easy to ignore, but now say it differently. You and me need to settle this over coffee. You and me at that rooftop bar. Imagine the chaos. You and me, we'd make a dangerously good team. You're not just flirting, you're projecting a possibility. You're planting a mental image where the two of you already exist together inside a small symbolic story, and the unconscious loves story, Jung believed that the human psyche is mythic at its core. We are drawn to archetypes, to narratives that stir something ancient inside us. You and Me plays directly into that. It's not about the literal meaning of the words. It's about what they imply. Connection, tension, invitation, mystery, and when spoken with calm confidence. Not rushed, not needy, those three words can create more emotional impact than 1,000 carefully crafted texts, because here's what you're really saying when you say, you and me, I see us together. I'm not waiting, I'm imagining. This is already real if you're ready to feel it, and that subtle shift, that's what changes everything. The right delivery changes everything. Let's say you're sitting in a cafe. You spot a man who intrigues you, the kind of man who seems like he doesn't even notice most women anymore because he's so used to predictable small talk. Now you could say something safe. Hi, is this seat taken? It's polite, it's harmless, and it disappears from his memory before he even finishes his coffee. But now, imagine this instead. You walk up slowly, you meet his eyes not with intensity, but with ease, a calm, effortless smile then. You say, you and me, we need to settle something. Is the coffee here actually good, or are we both pretending? Suddenly, you're not just a person, you're a moment, a twist in his day, a tiny rupture in his routine, a spark that disrupts the autopilot he's been on for hours. This is where the real shift happens, because now he's not just responding to your words. He's feeling something. He's curious, alert, present. He's wondering, who is this woman? Where did she come from? Why does this moment feel cinematic? That's not coincidence. That's emotional resonance. It's exactly what Carl Jung was talking about when he said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. You're not trying to impress. You're not over-explaining. You're creating a micro-story that pulls him in, not through logic, but through emotion. Let's break down why it works. You and me, this immediately creates a shared frame. It's not about you or him. It's about you together. The unconscious recognizes that as connection, we need to settle something. This adds intrigue. It's playful, confident, unexpected. It positions you as someone who's not waiting but engaging. Is the coffee here actually good, or are we both pretending? That last line, that's where you create relatability and humor, something so human, so subtly flirtatious, that it disarms him completely. All of it together becomes a story one he'll replay in his mind later, not because you were perfect, but because you broke the pattern. And here's the deeper truth. Most people drift through their day half asleep, stuck in repetitive conversations, shallow interactions, and forgettable small talk. But you offered something alive. You brought energy, playfulness, a spark of surprise. And that not your looks, not your outfit, not even your words alone, that emotional charge is what lingers in his memory, because attraction doesn't happen in the head, it happens in the gut, in the nervous system, in the symbols and stories that bypass logic and speak to the soul. Jung called it symbolic language. And when you speak it fluently, you no longer have to chase attention. You become the moment he remembers, the one who felt different, vivid, unforgettable. Why this works psychologically speaking, let's strip it down to the psychology, to what's actually happening beneath the surface when you say you and me with intention. It's not just a phrase, it's a signal, a powerful cue that speaks directly to the unconscious. So why does it work? Because embedded within those three words are three psychological triggers that men, and really all humans, are deeply wired to respond to. Number one, confidence. When you say you and me, you're not asking a question, you're making a declaration. There's no, would it be okay if? I'm sorry to bother you, but do you mind if I? Instead, it's a grounded statement, a woman showing up with self-assured energy. And here's the truth: you don't need to raise your voice to be powerful. True confidence is quiet certainty, and that, psychologically, is magnetic. When a man senses that you're not trying to impress him, not seeking approval, not anxiously hoping for a reaction, he leans in. Because confidence removes pressure from the interaction, and pressure is what kills attraction. Number 2, clarity. You're not vague. You're not playing it safe. You're speaking from a place of knowing. You and me would make a dangerous team. You and me should be having this conversation. These aren't random throwaway lines. They're anchored in a clear perception. You know what you see. You're not confused. And clarity, especially emotional clarity, is rare. Why? Because most people speak in uncertainty. They hide behind politeness. They wait to be chosen. But when you communicate with clarity, you're offering something refreshing, decisiveness without demand, and men find that grounding. Number 3, initiative. Here's where the real shift happens. Most women are taught to wait to let the man make the first move, the first suggestion, the first decision. But psychology shows us men don't just want to lead, they wanted to feel that a woman chose them, consciously, playfully, with intention. When you say, you and me should catch that show next week, or you and me, we're going to have an unforgettable conversation tonight, you're not chasing, you're inviting. It's initiative without pressure. It's assertiveness with grace. You're not dragging him into a plan, you're creating a shared possibility, and the unconscious responds deeply to that. And the subtle message beneath it all: I see something in us that more than flirtation, more than beauty, more than charm is what leaves a mark. It tells his psyche, you're not just another face. I'm not just passing time. I see potential, and that does something to him. It plants a seed of story, a what if, that takes root and grows, often long after the moment has passed, because in the end, as Carl Jung knew well, we are shaped not by logic, but by the symbolic language of the unconscious, the images, patterns, and feelings that move us even when we don't understand why. You and me is exactly that, a symbol, not just a phrase, a psychological imprint, subtle, powerful, and unforgettable. How not to use it. The mistake most women make, you and me, is subtle magic, not a hammer, not a spotlight. But just like any powerful tool, its impact depends on how and when you use it. Used well, it creates a spark. Used carelessly, it fizzles, or worse, repels. Let's talk about what not to do, because the mistakes here are more common than you'd think. Mistake number 1, overusing it. You say it once, he smiles, there's energy, so you say it again and again. And now, instead of sounding confident, you sound rehearsed, even desperate. Why it fails? When something powerful is repeated too often, it loses its mystique. The unconscious doesn't respond to repetition, it responds to novelty and subtlety. Fix it, use you and me once, maybe twice, when the moment is right. Let it be a spark, not a slogan. Mistake number 2, saying it with nervous energy. You finally gather the courage. You say it, but your voice shakes, your eyes drop, your tone trails off, like you're apologizing for taking up space. Why it fails? Words are only half the message. Your energy, your presence carries the rest. If your delivery says, I'm not sure I should be saying this, then his subconscious hears, this isn't worth remembering. Fix it. Take a breath, smile gently, say it like it's the most normal thing in the world, because to a confident woman, it is. Mistake number 3, waiting for his validation. You say the words, then you pause, you watch his face, you're waiting, hoping, needing him to approve. Why it fails? This kills the magic instantly. Why? Because now the energy is no longer grounded. It's needy, and neediness is the opposite of magnetism. Fix it, say it, then move on, casually, effortlessly, like it was a passing thought that just so happened to be brilliant. That's how it lingers. Not because you demanded a reaction, but because you didn't. So what's the rule? Say it once, with calm, with warmth, with flow, then let it go. No tension, no waiting, no analysis. If it lands, great. If it doesn't, even better. You didn't need it to. That's real power. Because the true magic of you and me doesn't lie in the phrase itself. It lies in you, the woman who knows her worth, speaks with elegance, and moves with quiet certainty. She doesn't shout to be remembered. She whispers and is never forgotten. Examples that spark chemistry. From small talk to soul sparks. Now that you understand the power of you and me, let's bring it to life, because this isn't about memorizing lines, it's about feeling into a moment and choosing words that ignite imagination. Most conversations hover in the safe zone. I like that band too. You're funny. It's nice talking to you, nice? Yes, memorable? Not quite. Let's raise the emotional voltage. Instead of saying, I love talking to you, say, you and me could have dangerously good conversations. Why it works? It's flirtatious without trying too hard. It paints a picture. The word dangerously adds tension, unpredictability, desire. It's not just about talking anymore. It's about chemistry. Instead of saying, I like that band too, say, you and me should definitely catch them live sometime. Why it works? Now, it's not just shared taste, it's shared experience. You've created a future moment. In his mind, an invitation without pressure. He starts seeing you there with him, and his mind fills in the rest. Instead of saying, we'd work well together, say, you and me would be a dangerous team. Why it works? It implies chemistry, edge, power. It's not corporate. It's not polite. It's an electric suggestion, like your CEO creating something bigger than yourselves. Instead of saying, this should happen sometime, say, you and me need to make this happen. Why it works? It's confident, clear, forward-moving. You're not asking, you're CEO conspiring. It implies momentum, like something inevitable just clicked into place. Instead of saying, that's interesting, say, you and me could definitely get in trouble talking like this. Why it works? Playfulness, edge, emotional heat. Suddenly, it's not just chatting. It's flirting with the boundaries, and that lingers, the key element in all of this. Each of these phrases does three things. Creates a shared reality. It's not just you or him anymore. It's you and me together. Elicits emotion, playful, curious, bold, exciting. It's a feeling, not a fact. Plants a mental image, one where you're already in his world, not as a stranger, but as a possibility. This is how attraction starts before the first date. Not in grand gestures, but in subtle psychological suggestions that bypass the logical mind and tap straight into his unconscious. You're not saying, like me. You're saying, this story already exists, can you feel it too? And trust me, he will. Body language makes it real. Because attraction isn't just what you say, it's how you say it. Words are powerful, but they're only half the conversation. The other half, it's what your eyes, your tone, your posture are saying. Even when your mouth is silent. Carl Jung once said, the body expresses what the soul cannot say, and that couldn't be more true when it comes to connection and attraction. You can say the most magnetic phrase in the world, you and me, but if your voice shakes, your eyes drop, or your posture folds in, the magic fades, because your body will always tell the real story. What does confident energy actually look like? Let's break it down into real, tangible signals that radiate grounded presence. First, eye contact that lingers just a second longer than normal. Not a stare, not a challenge, just a soft, steady look that says, I see you. That brief moment, it creates intensity. It makes him wonder. You're not just another passerby, you're someone present. Second, a voice that's calm and unhurried. Most people rush when they're nervous, but true confidence lives in stillness. When you speak slowly, even just a little, it signals, I'm not performing, I'm anchored, I don't need to rush this moment, and that tone, that calm certainty is like gravity, it pulls attention towards you. Third, a real smile, the kind that comes from the eyes. Forget the polite, automatic grin. This smile is softer, warmer, it feels like you actually enjoy the moment. Not like you're trying to impress. A genuine smile melts defenses, it opens space for connection, and most importantly, it makes you feel more at ease. 2. Fourth, posture that's relaxed, but claimed. You're not shrinking. You're not crossing your arms or hiding behind a phone. You're simply there, shoulders relaxed, spine aligned, chin neutral. You take up your space with ease, and that ease, that's confidence, not the loud kind, but the kind that whispers, I know who I am, I don't need to prove anything, what not to do, don't overlean into the conversation, don't fidget or touch your face too much, don't watch him for a reaction like you're waiting for applause. When you say something like, you and me would be trouble, then just keep talking, keep sipping your coffee, keep the energy flowing. Why? Because when you treat the moment like it's no big deal, he starts to believe it is. It's not what you say that lingers, it's the energy behind it that echoes. Bottom line, you don't need a perfect script. You don't need to act, you just need to mean it. Mean the words, feel the moment, let your body speak the confidence your mouth doesn't have to explain. When your words, your voice, and your body are all telling the same story, you become unforgettable. Mistakes that kill the spark, and how to avoid them. Like a woman who knows her worth. Let's be clear, you and me is not a magic spell, it's a subtle emotional gesture, and like all gestures, its power depends entirely on how and when it's used. Get the timing right. It lingers in his mind all day. Get it wrong, it falls flat, or worse, feels forced. So let's talk about the silent killers, the easy-to-make mistakes that quietly erase the magic before it ever begins. Mystica number 1, saying it too soon. You've just met. The connection's barely formed, then suddenly, you and me should go out Saturday. It's too early, too forward. Instead of building intrigue, it builds tension, and not the good kind. Why it backfires. Attraction, like a fire, needs the right kindling. Use you and me before the warmth is there, and it feels out of sync, like skipping to the last page of a book you haven't even started. What to do instead? Wait for flow, wait for that shared smile, that easy rhythm, that subtle yes between the lines. Then drop it like a feather, not a hammer. Mystica number 2, overusing it. The power of you and me is in its rarity. Use it in every conversation, and it becomes background noise, predictable, repetitive. Why? It backfires. It starts to feel like a line, not a moment, and the moment that happens, the connection vanishes. What to do instead? Use it once, maybe twice, then walk away from the phrase like it wasn't even a big deal. That's how it becomes a spark, not a script. Mystica number 3, sounding rehearsed. You practiced? In the mirror, you rehearse the tone, but when it finally leaves your lips, it sounds artificial. Why? It backfires. The male psyche is wired to detect emotional congruence. If the words don't match your energy, your eyes, your presence, it all falls apart. What to do instead? Mean it. Say it like it just occurred to you. Let it feel organic, like something that naturally bubbled up in that moment, not something pulled from a TikTok or dating guide. Mystica number 4, watching for his reaction. You say it, then immediately search his face for approval. Did it land? Did he smile? Did he get it? Now the energy is off. The mystery is gone, and suddenly he feels pressure, not attraction. Why it backfires? Needing validation kills intrigue, and intrigue is where attraction breathes. What to do instead? Say it, then keep talking like it was just another thought. No need to make it a moment. Let him do that in his mind. Confidence doesn't wait for applause. It just walks through the room and trusts it's being felt. So how do you get it right? Say it once. When the flow is natural, let it land without overemphasizing. Move on with ease, like it was just something casual you tossed into the conversation. Hold your energy calm, open, self-assured. Trust the echo sometimes. The spark isn't instant. Sometimes it ignites hours later when he's alone, remembering the way you made him feel, because that's the real magic. The spark doesn't happen when you say it. It happens after, when your presence is still echoing in his mind. Beyond romance, connection in every area of life, because connection isn't just for dating, it's a human need. We've talked about how the phrase "you and me" can spark attraction, but here's something even more powerful. It's not just a romantic tool. It's a connection tool, and it works anywhere you want to create intimacy, trust, or emotional resonance, because at the core of every relationship, romantic, professional, or personal, is one universal truth. We all want to feel seen, included, chosen, and those three words, "you and me," do exactly that. In friendships, you run into a friend you haven't seen in months. Instead of the generic, "we should catch up sometime," try, "you and me have a long overdue conversation coming." Feel the shift? It's no longer vague, it's intentional. You've created a bridge, a moment that feels specific, meaningful, warm. In work or collaboration, let's say you're in a meeting, a project is stuck, no one's stepping up. Instead of saying, "someone should handle this," look across the table and say, "you and me could fix this in half the time." Now you're not just offering help, you're extending partnership. You're giving someone confidence, you're inviting them in, and people remember how you made them feel in difficult conversations. Even conflict shifts when you change the energy. Instead of, "you never listen to me," try, "you and me, we need to figure out how to hear each other better." See the difference? You've gone from blame to collaboration, from division to shared purpose. That's the power of language that includes rather than accuses. Why this works? Well, Carl Jung spoke about relational archetypes, the roles and energies we unconsciously respond to in others. "You and me" activates the LA archetype. It implies shared direction, unity, safety, trust. It sends the message, we're not on opposite sides. We're in this together. And in a world where everyone is guarding themselves, that kind of emotional invitation is disarming and rare. The ripple effect, when you begin using "you and me" beyond romance, something beautiful happens. Your relationships become warmer, your conversations become deeper, your presence becomes more magnetic. Why? Because now you're not just speaking, you're inviting connection everywhere you go. Final truth, the phrase is simple, but when it comes from presence, authenticity, and timing, it transforms the space around you. It says, "I choose this moment, I choose you in it," and that's unforgettable. Real confidence speaks softly. So let's return to where we began. 3 simple words, soft on the surface, but beneath them, a current strong enough to shift how someone sees you and how you see yourself. "You and me," not a pickup line, not a performance, but a psychological key, one that unlocks connection not through force, but through subtlety. Because the most unforgettable moments aren't loud, they don't announce themselves with fanfare. They arrive like whispers and echo like thunder. Carl Jung didn't teach us how to impress, he taught us how to understand, to see beneath the obvious, to feel the symbols in everyday words. "You and me" is one of those symbols. It's not about being clever, it's about being felt. Felt in the pause between words, felt in the confidence behind your tone, felt in the image it paints, not of seduction, but of possibility. Because in the end, we don't crave perfection. We crave resonance, to feel seen, chosen, imagined into someone's world. And when you say you and me, like you mean it not to impress, not to convince, but simply to connect, you're giving him a gift he didn't know he needed, a glimpse of what could be. So the next time you find yourself in that moment, the conversation flowing, the eye contact lingering, the laughter soft and easy, drop it gently. You and me would be trouble. You and me need to figure this out. You and me could have dangerously good conversations. Then let it breathe, let it live, let it echo. Because when you stop chasing approval and start speaking with intention, that's when you become unforgettable. And if you felt something while listening, if this made you think or smile, or feel more powerful than you did before, then maybe, just maybe, you and me, we have more to talk about.